it's Ian, the singing budgeter, and I'm so glad we have this time together. So welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, I'm a singer-actor here in Orlando, Florida, and I'm on a journey to becoming debt-free. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a breakdown of my monthly budget for September of 2023. And before we get started, I know it's been a while since you've heard from me, but about 2.5 weeks ago, I came down with COVID, and it put me out of work for 2 weeks, and 6 of those days were unpaid. So I had to do some major tweaking with my budget towards the end of the month, but thankfully I still came out in the green. Now, that got me thinking, maybe I should do a video about unexpected things that might pop up in your budget and how you might be able to tweak your budget to still come out on top. So look for that here in a little while. But first, we're going to get to my September budget. So let's get started. All right. So how's everyone doing? I hope everyone had a great rest of your month. As I said, I had COVID, but overall, it was a pretty good month. We did have a hurricane at the end, but thankfully Orlando was spared a lot of the brunt of the storm. Definitely thinking good thoughts for, places up north in Florida and also in Georgia and South Carolina. But thankfully down here, it was more of a tropical storm than a hurricane. What kind of natural disasters have you been through? I've been through tornadoes, hurricanes. I haven't had an earthquake yet, but I'm okay with not doing an earthquake. I've gotten used to the hurricanes and the tornadoes, but yeah, they're very interesting. But you definitely are expecting them when you live in Florida. But I hope everyone had a great month, and let's get right into my September budget. And first, we are going to start by going over to my calendar. And I did a little bit of tweaking to my calendar, as you can see. I color coordinated it for each week that my paycheck is covering. My first paycheck of the month is actually going to be starting on September 7th. Anything that came up prior to that is going to be covered by my last paycheck of August, which was on the 31st. So as I mentioned in my previous videos about this, I color coordinate based on what type of expense it is. So anything in blue is going to be my debt, which is like my mortgage and my credit card payments. Anything in gray are going to be my bills, anything subscription based, or my electric bill or my water bill. And then anything in green is anything that I do investment wise. So I have a brokerage account, I have a Roth IRA, and then I also put money into my high yield savings account every week. So pretty straightforward month. It's a 4 paycheck month. And so let's get right to budgeting then. All right. So let's first start out by filling out my income for the month and what I'm going to be expecting. So for my full-time job, as I mentioned before, I work 40 hours a week, and I only budget for those 40 hours. Now, I do have the ability to make overtime and some extra money here and there, but I never want to budget for that because it's not consistent enough to be a weekly thing or even a monthly thing. So I only budget for the 40-hour a week paycheck that I'm going to be receiving. And so for the month of September, I will be expecting $3,689.24. All right. And then next, as I mentioned before, I do sing with a church choir for a side hustle, and we get paid for the work we do the month prior. So this month, I'm going to be paid from everything that I did in August. All right. So for church choir, I'm expecting $360. And then also in September, I had a couple extra streams of income. I'd had a recording session that is going to pay me in September, and that is going to pay me $450. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to arrive, so But I am budgeting that I'll receive it at some point this month. And then I also had a gig with a company called Metropolis, and that is coming up in a couple weeks, and I expect to be paid $650 for that gig. And then finally, as I said, I budget weekly based on my paycheck, and my very first paycheck actually isn't until September 7th. And if you look back in my calendar, the last paycheck of the month runs into the month of October. So I also want to budget for things that are coming up in October. And so when we go back to my budget, I also receive cash back from my Bank of America credit card. And I already budgeted the previous month for what I'll be receiving in September, but since my last paycheck goes through October, I want to budget for the cash back that I'll receive in the month of October. So, since I don't know the actual amount yet, I usually just budget around $35 for that. All right, so that is all the income that I am expecting for my month of September. So now let's go down to my debt. So first, I do have a mortgage and I have credit card debt, but my mortgage was paid by my last paycheck in August. So we'll get to that budgeting here in a second. But I want to start with my Bank of America credit card. All right, and that is due on the 17th of the month, and the minimum for that is $74. All right, and then I want to budget for the mortgage that's going to be taken out for the month of October. Now, I just received a notice that my mortgage is going up slightly, and that is due to my escrow being increased. My insurance is going up a little bit, and so they're adjusting my payments. So for my mortgage for October, it is going to be $1,583 and 23 cents, and that is going to be due on the 1st of October. All right, and so that is my debt. Now let's go down to my bills. And as I said, the first paycheck starts September 7th. So I'm going to be budgeting for my bills starting on September 7th. And then it's going to be going through the very first week of October. So first I have Wow Presents Plus. And that is going to be $5.37. And that is due on the 8th. And then I have Apple Care Plus, and that is $9.99. Oops. And that is going to be due as well on the 8th of the month. And then, along with everyone else, I have iCloud storage. I think it's 100 gigs, or I don't know. It's a lot of storage. I pay a little bit extra for it. And so I pay $10.69 a month. And that is due on the 8th as well. All right, and then internet. So my internet just went up because my yearly promotion ended. And so it went up from $54.99 to $69.99. I did call my internet service today, and I had it lowered back down to $54.99. As I've mentioned before, you definitely have a lot of negotiating power with certain types of bills. Internet is definitely one of them. So if you're not happy with the amount you're paying, definitely give your provider a call and try to negotiate with them. So my rate went up to $69.99, and I called, and they basically, without really even having to negotiate that much, lowered it back down to $54.99 and also upped my internet speed on top of it for free. So it just goes to show you, you have a lot of negotiating power. Now, unfortunately, the $69.99 is going to be charged for this month, and then I'm going to go back down to $54.99 for the following month. So I have to budget for $69.99 now, and that is going to be due on the 9th. All right, and then next are some of my subscriptions. So I have Amazon Prime. And that is going to be $15.09, and that is due on the 12th. All right, and then after that, we have Netflix at $16.71, and that is due on the 15th. Then we have Sirius XM. Now I was paying about $23-24 a month for this, and I want to give a huge shout out to a subscriber who messaged me after my August video and told me to definitely give Sirius a call, and you can actually do it via chat on their website. And she recommended me doing that because I could definitely lower it substantially. So I took her advice, and my $23 a month subscription was lowered to $8.25, which is amazing. So thank you very much for the help on that. And I want to pass that information along to all of you that, again, you have negotiating power with your providers. So definitely SiriusXM is one of them. Your internet's another one. I was able to lower it to $8.25, which is awesome. All right, and so that is going to be due on the 16th of the month. All right, and then I have my monthly massage, and that is going to be $64.95, and that is due on the 25th of the month. All right, so that is all for the month of September, but I do have the budget for the first week of October as well. So we start with Apple TV Plus, and that is for October. And that is going to be $7.52 due on the 1st. All right, next I have a Patreon that I support, and that is $5 a month, and it's taken out on the 1st of the month as well. And then my electric bill for October, since I don't know the exact amount yet, I'm just going to budget for what I think it's going to be and then make the adjustment once the bill actually comes in. So I just budget $150 for that. And then, as I said, I'll adjust it as needed. But it's been kind of, hovering around that amount, especially right now during summer. And moving into the fall, it's still hot here in Florida, so my air conditioner is running a lot more than it probably will in a couple months. So I'm going to budget $150 for now, and then hopefully, in a couple months, it's going to lower down a little bit. So that is due on the 1st of the month. All right, next is my water bill. Now, if you remember from my last video, I was having a little bit of an issue with the water company. They messed up in how they were reading my meters and ended up not charging me for anything really in July, and then kind of tacked it all on to my August bill. And so I had a little bit of a dispute with them, and I thought it was all resolved. And so when my water bill came out for September, they actually credited me back about half of my water bill, which was awesome. And so I only had to pay roughly about $50 to $54 for September. Now, my water bill for October, I still don't know what the amount is going to be, but I'm assuming that since that credit has been applied, I think everything is probably going to go back to normal for October. So I'm just going to budget what I normally budget for my water bill, which is around $100. And hopefully everything is back to normal, but we'll see. And so that is going to be due on the 1st of the month as well. All right, moving on, we have my 3 appliance service packages. All right, the first one, let me say that's for October. First one is going to be $5.34, and that is due on the 4th. And then we have 2 more of those. Another one is $5.34, and then the last one is $6.41, and those are all due on the 4th. Okay, so that is going to be what my bills are for the month, and that includes the first week of October. Now let's move on to my cash envelopes. All right, so my cash envelopes last month were a little all over the place due to me having COVID, and I ended up having to budget a little bit differently than I actually wanted to. But in the end, I broke even when it came to my cash envelopes, even though the amounts in each envelope might have been different. So, like, my eating out budget was a little bit more than my grocery budget was, but they kind of evened themselves out. So, I'm just going to budget what I did last month, which is going to be $100 a week for groceries, $100 a week for eating out, $50 a week for my car, $50 a week for fun money, and $50 a week for anything miscellaneous. So that comes to $400 for groceries, $400 for eating out, $200 for my car, which is like gas and tolls and anything maintenance wise that might pop up out of the blue. That is what that is for. Fun money is going to be for whatever I want it to be for 200, and miscellaneous is anything that doesn't really like fit into those categories is going to be 200. All right. So then let's move down to my sinking funds. And unfortunately, last month I had budgeted for a certain amount to be put into every sinking fund, but because of not being paid for 6 days, I had to adjust my sinking fund budget, and it ended up taking everything out of my sinking funds that I had budgeted for the month. Now, I do have that all in a high yield savings account, and I do accrue interest every month, and so I was still able to take the interest that I had accrued and apply it to those sinking funds. But for car, medical, home, emergency, and taxes, I had to go from $100 to zero. But I still did my $30 for the kids' investment funds because that amount needs to build up before the next investment happens for Christmas. So I stuck with that, but everything else I moved to zero. But we're going to start this month brand new, and we're going to budget what we had budgeted last month for it. So I'm going to do $100 for my car, $100 for medical, $100 for the home, $30 for the kids' investment funds, $100 for my emergency fund, and finally $100 for taxes. So let's hope nothing crazy happens this month so I can stick to that, because I definitely missed out on doing that last month. All right. And then nothing for extra expenses this month. And so let's go down to investing. As I said before, I have a couple of different investments that I do. One being a 401k, but that's taken out of my paycheck before I even see it. So that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, automatically being invested, which is great. And then I also have a Roth IRA and a brokerage account. And then I have an online savings account. So let's start with that. So for the month of September, there's going to be $40 going into my savings account. And that is going to be due every Friday. And then my Roth IRA, I put in $100 a month at the moment, and that is taken out on the 30th. And then I'm budgeting for my brokerage account for October, since the September brokerage account payment was taken from my last paycheck in August. So I have $150 being taken out for October, and that is going to be on the 1st of the month. All right, so let's look at the totals for everything. So when we look at it, for my income, I'll be getting $5,184.24. And then my debt, which is my mortgage, my Bank of America credit card, that'll be $1,657.23. And then my bills are going to add up to $480.65. My cash envelopes at $1,400. My sinking funds, cross your fingers, at $530. Nothing for extra expenses. And then finally, $290 for investing. And when you do the math, it looks like I'll have a surplus of $826.36. And if that stays, I will be putting all of that money towards my debt, which is currently my Rooms to Go credit card. All right, so that is it for this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, have a musical day.